on, everybody? Okay, so we're talking about episode 4 today, and we really didn't get a whole lot of action in this one. It was kind of a slow episode. I wouldn't really say it was a filler. We really get to start seeing that parental dynamic between Joel and Ellie, right? That we see in the video game, because this is right after Bill and Frank, and they get the car, and so we're picking up right after episode 3, which tearjerker. Still think it's an Emmy worthy. Pick up after the part of the car, and playing the video game, I was like, okay, are we gonna see the people, right? Where the guy's in the middle of the street and he's like, oh hey, help me, and he's like, put your seatbelt on. She's like, are we gonna help him? He's like, nope, and then he just like runs right through the guy, right? Well, we kind of see a little bit of that, right? The guy's in the middle of the street, and as soon as Joe saw him, he was like, nope, and so they drop like I think it was like a TV on the windshield or whatever, and then you get the like little shootout, whatever, and then Ellie's kind of in the hole. And she was like, okay, what do I do? Like, she's kind of hiding. Brian bum rushes Joel, right? And he's like struggling to like fight him. Then, that's when Ellie comes up from behind and then just like pops him, right? Just like in the video game. But when they kind of start talking about that moment, right? Because that's a heavy thing to do. Something heavy that a kid's going to carry with them, like taking a life. That's really heavy. And in the game, they handle it very well. He's like, hey, you're okay? Like, thanks for your help, but like, are you okay? And the show, Joel's kind of having that same struggling. He's like, man, if you want to talk about it, but like, you shouldn't have to do that as a kid and your age and this and that. Like, he's really bad at this whole father thing. I mean, he hasn't been a father in like almost 25 years. And so, I think even when he was a father, it was hard for him to really talk with his daughter with certain things, right? I'm sure. I mean, I'm a dad myself, and my 5-year-old, I don't even know when we're gonna start having conversations about things, and I know I'm gonna mess up. To meet Kathleen, the leader of the people, and she was like, oh, this is Henry's work, and Henry was all about this, and this is Henry's issues, and Henry did this, and everybody's like, yeah, Henry, yeah, man, that guy, and I'm like, Henry, is that the same Henry in Sam from the game? Are we gonna see some cameos, some little Easter eggs where they find like an apartment attic, whatever, with some food, and then there's like kid drawings or whatever, and she was like, find him, he'll never let Sam go hungry. And I'm like, oof. There are other survivors that meet Joe and Ellie, and if you know the game, you know what happens. Shh. Let's wait for the next episode to find out. Pretty sure in this 5th episode, we're gonna have a major death. What we're seeing in the promos and everything, with the bloater coming out of the ground, when they see the crater, it's kind of like, right, just kind of like pulsating. I was like, ooh. I was expecting like some kind of tentacle or something to show up, and I was like, oh, we're gonna have a swarm on our hands or something. And so, this kind of sets up for the next one. But going back to Joe and Ellie, right, because that's who our main characters are, and that's what we're about. We really get to see kind of a little bit more deeper dynamic this whole episode with Joe and Ellie, where he's starting to not see her as cargo, but he's telling her like, well, you're just cargo, like, I don't care for you. But like, when she pops Brian, right, he starts caring about her. He's like, hey, look, are you okay, and this and that. And then when they climb the 35 stairs, I mean, that's more than I can do with my bad knees. I could probably only do 6. And so they rest for the night and whatever. And then she's, telling her dad jokes, which we find in the beginning of the episode, right? Because that's what she does while you're, roaming in the game, is she's giving you fun dad jokes and stuff. And, she told him, why did the Scarecrow get an award? Because he was outstanding in his field. So, we really start to see their friendship kind of coming along, because she was like, you dick, you've already read this. And he was like, no, Ellie, he did not read that. He wrote the book. Why? Because he's Papa Joe. This episode, we really get to see the parental dynamic that Joel's going to start taking upon Ellie. And we end this on a cliffhanger, right? You finally meet Sam and Henry. Remember, Ellie was calling him, and she was like, Joel. And so she's realizing he can't hear out of his right ear too well. And so he tells her it's probably from all the shooting. No, Joel, it's probably old age, man. That's gray hairs are going to get you. They're going to get you. I noticed that you can't hear from your right ear too well. And he's like, well, I'll hear the crunching of the glass or whatever. And then, the last end of the episode, she's like, Joel. And she's standing like this with a gun to her head. And then camera pans out. And who is it? Henry. And then camera pans to Joe, and who is it? Sam, and he's dressed as a superhero. So, I don't know if Sam's gonna like believe that he's saving people, or if that helps him kind of like deal with the apocalypse. Which, I mean, either way, it's cool, right? I don't know that at all, really. But it was really creepy because it reminds me of that movie Us, right? Camera ends on Sam, and he's like, shh, and then it just shuts off, and then music. I was like, oh, that's cool. Oh, the 5th episode's gonna be good. The 5th episode's gonna be good. Plus, by the way, because of the stupid Super Bowl, and apparently that's important, we're gonna get the 5th episode a little bit sooner. Yeah! We're getting it on Friday, February 10th. I think about the same time, 8, 9, Eastern, Pacific, whatever. I don't know, it's coming on the same time. And so we just get it earlier because apparently Super Bowl's important. Who cares, right? I go for Argentina. Pretty sure we're going to get a little bit more action in the 5th episode, but I mean, this 4th one was pretty good overall. I mean, it wasn't like my best. I was kind of like, oh, okay. Like, all right. I mean, everything's been kind of steadily taking it along. I'm not complaining at any point. I'm not saying this is the worst episode ever. I'm just like, this one kind of just like, oh, that's cool. They're all cool. They're getting together. Brian, then, kind of like, that's really my emotions. I was like, oh, okay. And then kind of do what I was doing and chit-chatting. But yeah, guys, let me know your thoughts. If you kind of thought this one was a filler or kind of really didn't do too much for you, that's totally cool too. That's what we're here for. Let's talk about it and let me know your thoughts. What do you expect for episode 5? Because from the promos of that bloater coming out of the floor, I'm expecting something big. I'm expecting like all-out war or like some kind of big fight. Who are we going to lose? Who's going to get hurt? This and that. Could the show take an original direction and go something completely different from what we're expecting in the game? Who knows? So I mean, that's part of the fun, right? That's part of the fun of adaptions and different things. Remember, from the beginning I said, don't take everything too seriously. Don't expect this to be word for word for the game. So I'm open to whatever they're doing. It's been great so far. So we'll catch you guys on Friday.